Welcome to DubLife Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. Okay, so today's guest is somebody who helped shape the Tampa Bay VW scene, a man whose love affair for Volkswagens turned into 18 years of unforgettable shows, convoys, camping, and community. He's also a talented musician who has a passion for creativity, and it did not just stop with VWs. So everybody, please help me welcome Sven Couture to the show. Yeah, buddy.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
And thank you so much for taking time and being here with us. I know this community has missed you, and they're going to be happy to hear from you.
Thank you, Joe Persons, for having me, brother.
Yeah, man. You know, why does your story matter so much to the VW community? I'll tell you, in my opinion, why it matters so much. Your story is so special because it wasn't just about shows or even convoys that you led. It's more about how you built a community around these cars. And I can tell anybody can organize an event. Anybody out there, right? But
Sure.
it takes passion, it takes vision, it takes heart to create something that people still talk about decades later. And that, my friend, is what you do and what you did. So you didn't just promote VW shows, you created spaces where friendships were born. I know you know that, where stories were shared, where the VW spirit was able to live on. And it still does. It's very alive today. So your journey is a reminder that this scene is not just about cars. It's about...
No, it's the people who drive them.
That's it, my brother.
That's it. That was what it was always about. It wasn't about me. It was about the VWs, whether it was a bus or a Beetle or, that's what brought us all together.
Yep.
The love of a vehicle,
Shape connections that lasted for long after the engines cooled down. To me, that's why your story matters so much to this community. I feel like you're a part of the fabric of this VW community locally in this area. And I know that's a big scene. It's a big scene around here now. So, yeah.
It was huge. It was huge. What? I've been out of it 12, 15 years now. It was huge back then. So, hopefully it's gotten bigger,
Yeah. So I think so, but I think the energy might have shifted a bit too. It was probably easier to acquire those cars back then.
They were cheaper. That is true.
Yeah, right. But bottom line, brother, I'm giving you your flowers. I think you deserve them. So
thank you, man. Thank you,
man. So I'm going to set the scene for us. All right. Take me back to Clearwater, Florida, 1994. What was it about the 1970 VW Transporter, the bus, that you finally found that grabbed you and never let go?
So I brought the bus home April 25th, 1995. I was wrong. Gina broke out some video. She actually had some video that she shot of me showing off the bus for the first time I brought it home. I got it, stopped at a car wash, took off some stickers, So it was April 25th, 1995. I'd always wanted a Volkswagen. As a kid, the emblem, the V and the W.
Yeah.
It was just, I was always drawing that on papers, and the shape of a bus was just something that I had always loved. And at the time, Gina was my girlfriend. We'd been married now over 20 years, been together 32 years. So at the time, we were living together. It's our first house together, and she's like, "What's your dream, baby?" And I'm like, "I want to get a bus." I didn't know why. It called me.
Yeah.
And I was raised in Tampa, and we were living in Clearwater at the time. And so there was a Volkswagen dealership on Florida Avenue called Holbrook's VWs. He was just a junk dealer, really. Flip them. He was a flipper.
Sure.
And in the 90s, like you were saying, the Volkswagens were cheaper. You could get a bus for a couple grand.
Yeah.
Under a grand.
Yeah. That's
mine.
They're like Bitcoin nowadays.
Yes, that's true. You're right. Mine was a rust bucket. I drove it. I had it 18 years before we sold it and went to Australia.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah,
But
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
absolutely, absolutely. Joe Brennan, go shout out to him right now because I'm sure he'll be watching this.
Awesome.
Yeah, after it's just there's something about the shape. We love the shape. It's
So Gina
I was
wanted to see your dreams come true. What's your dream, baby, is what she said to you. So I don't really have to ask how it intertwined with your personal life because that's how it intertwined. You got it. It was your dream, and she was helping the dreams come true.
it's true. That's what we do
So the Burger King meetups, you said something interesting when you sent me that info. You said there was 50 to 60 cars there on
on
any
an average. Yeah,
yeah, on any given Saturday night. So do me a favor, set the scene for that Burger King. Where was it?
the Burger King was on US 19 and 110th Avenue. It's now like a shrimp and chicken place with it it was a shopping and a strip mall that is now defunct. It was a weight room, gymnasium there. But yeah, the Burger King was 110th Avenue and US 19. It was a Saturday meetup. That's just where people were meeting there before I got my bus, and I would drive over.
50,
Uh,
60 cars though. I mean, that's like, that's electric, dude.
people came people
That's a
came from
buzz.
Tampa. People came from Sarasota. I mean, it was a draw.
What do you
It
think?
was
What do you think made that night or that scene at that time? What do you think it made it so special? Because, I mean,
because
50
it was
60 cars that's a decent amount.
there was a classic car show there with every Saturday. All the classic cars would meet there, and so there'd always be one or two Volkswagens that we'd be in the corner. But then week after week, we would start getting there were more Volkswagens than there were American classic cars. So
Yeah,
we sort of
buddy.
we sort of pushed them off to the side, and we just took over the whole two main parking rows with Volkswagens. It just became the scene that
Yeah.
we went with that we did on Saturday night. There was no other shows happening. That's just where we met and became friends. And my father was a silkscreen printer back in the 70s and 80s. He made T-shirts. So that's what, I had a
No,
buddy.
that's where you
I
yeah,
had a
yeah,
buddy who had a shop in downtown St. Petersburg called Goodbyes, and he had the iron-on transfer machine, Xerox machine.
yeah.
I could just put my artwork on the Xerox machine, hit mirror copy, and put it in the paper, and he would spit out the prints. And he had the T-shirts, so I would buy a dozen shirts and just print them up with the old classic Volkswagen ads,
Now
from
when you sent me those details, you sent me some names of the scene back then, and
yeah.
I'll help you refresh your memory. But Jack Flash, Single Cab Dave, Oval D, and I think you were mentioning the Joe before Classic Camber was even
Joe Jr. Piacenza, right, who
yeah.
opened up Classic Camber. He started at the Burger King with us.
Yeah, it
I
sounds
mean,
like a lot. Did all
he
these
was
other
just,
guys too? Jack Flash
yeah,
and Single
yeah,
Cab Dave.
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
okay,
So Jack Flash is Jack Stratton.
okay,
And, Single Cab Dave is Dave Perry,
okay, cool.
who is still in the scene. You know
Yeah,
Dave, and I
very
know you
much so.
must. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Oval D was a mechanic who painted my bus, worked for Classic Camber. He's in Zephyr Hills now. He's out of the scene. He sold his Oval. It's a beautiful car.
So
But
these guys are legendary for the scene, kind of like you
are
are.
they still now? Are they really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
Some of
cool.
these
That's cool.
some of these names for sure. But like, what were those early connections like? Were just your friends? Just
Yeah,
other
exactly.
enthusiasts? Just yeah,
Exactly. I was the long-haired stoner tie-dyer. I mean,
yeah.
when I got our bus, I was already airbrushing and tie-dyeing with my wife or girlfriend then. We were tie-dyeing shirts. And so when I showed up on the scene, I had like tie-dyed shirts already and blankets and it's just I'm not into the Grateful Dead at all. I wasn't never a Deadhead, although,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
being associated with a Volkswagen bus,
Right,
so you're a
right.
deadhead. No, I'm not a deadhead. So, but long live Jerry. But that's what sort of I was drawn to making shirts because it was in my blood with my dad, and the scene didn't have anything like that. So Saturday nights I would grab my couple dozen shirts, my kids, we'd go to the Burger King, and I'd set up my little stand and sell my shirts, and we would touch and squeeze and talk about everybody else's Volkswagens, and
Yeah.
it was and that's where the show scene sort of was birthed, was from friends. Jack Stratton and I were like, we should do a show. And he's like, yeah, we should do a show. He's like, we've got this. He had the connection with the Volkey club. Yeah, the Volkey Fest was was what he launched. I helped him with the first year, maybe the first 2 years. Then I was off doing bugs on the pier. So we sort
Well,
of split after.
in the timeline, I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to bring you back to, because I think it's important to touch on this. You're kind of mentioning that you're starting to notice, wow, this is pretty cool. You know, maybe even be a promoter to have our own show. But something inspired that, right? So you mentioned something about how you went to Bug Jam back when it used to be
Yep.
in Land O'Lakes, and that it just
Yep.
absolutely blew your mind.
It did.
Talk to me, walk me through that. What was it like showing up to an event like that when you're such a fan? And, we all know what Bug Jam is today. I'm sure it's massive even back then. But, what was that experience like? Take me through it.
Well, first of all, God bless Al and Jeannie Brumley. They were the originators. They had a shop in Land O'Lakes that was right next to the fairgrounds where the original Bug Jam started. Small world syndrome. I was in a band before I got a Volkswagen, and I had played there like a year or so before I even got my Volkswagen and drove to Land O'Lakes for the first Bug Jam that I went to as a VW participant. I had been there before as a musician, and it was like I pull up to the place and I'm like, this looks familiar. And oh yeah, that's right. You were here like 2 years ago playing country western music. And so, just seeing that whole culture being, pulling into the parking lot in my bus and parking next to other Volkswagens and then going into the show and going through the swap meet and seeing, oh, I need that taillight. Oh, I need that bumper. Oh, you start the wish list right there. Day one. And it just sucked me in. I mean, that whole culture, we know what the Bug Jam is like. You don't go there and not know what you're getting into. I mean, these people eat shit and breathe Volkswagens.
Right. They all still do. So now we're timeline wise, now we're straightened out. So now it's 98.
It's like 96. I got my van in 95. So my first Bug Jam would have been, I got my van in April of 95. So Bug Jams are in November. So it would have been 96 would have been my first Bug Jam with the bus.
So tell me this thought then, because by 98, you said you're printing shirts on iron on, press on, heat transfer, whatever that's called, off of magazine ads. You've got the Tampa Bay Volkey Fest going with Jack.
Right. Yep. First 2 years with him, and then him and I split, and I started Bugs on the Pier.
So that's what I want to know right there. How did that feel from fan now to promoter? How did that shift take place? When did you kind of get bit by the bug and say, all right, I'm doing this on my own?
Well, I'm an entertainer. Not if you haven't figured that out yet, whether with the art and the bands. And over the years, I remember sitting in bed with my wife, coming up with the idea. I'm like, babe, we're just going to do a show on the pier. I got permission from the city of St. Pete to do it. And she's like, looks me right in the eye and she's like, why would you want to do that? Why? When I say I do these shows, it's me and her. Okay. Joe, one person does not put together Volkswagen shows. It's a community.
Yeah.
Eventually it's a community, but at first it's a husband and a wife and friends are brought in.
Yeah.
And, she was questioning me and I'm like, baby, it's just, I got to do it. I'm drawn to have a show. And over the years, having Bugs on the Pier, I wasn't in a band, organized band, but I'm a drummer and I would bring in a guitar player and a bass player. And we were like the show entertainment, like, because I had a show. I mean, you know how it is. Bugs on the Pier was, that's like my own little Bug Jam. I could make my own trophies. I could print my own flyers and, go out and sell my soul to the sponsors and create a show.
So I want to touch on this before, because I know this also kind of happened at the same time simultaneously, or at least in the timeline, was that shirt back there, was the first Skyway convoy.
Skyway, yes.
April of 98, right?
Was the first one I went to. So I think the year before 97 was the first year I'd heard about it.
Okay.
I went to 98. The whole Skyway story was 12 people, like 4 or 5 Volkswagen buses, camping at Lake Manatee campgrounds down in Bradenton.
Okay.
They went down to Manatee campgrounds. They camped a Friday and a Saturday. Sunday, they're going to pack up, have to leave the campgrounds, back over the Skyway Bridge, hence the convoy over the Skyway Bridge to Fort DeSoto. That's where they just went because it's like we got to go somewhere over the bridge. Let's get Fort DeSoto.
Now I want to pause for a second, because keep in mind this is a podcast, so we know what the Skyway Bridge is, but there may be a lot of listeners. I'm getting some in Germany and Switzerland and the Netherlands, which is really cool already. But I want to talk about what this Skyway Bridge is. So the backdrop for many now 26 years in a row, legendary convoys have come over this Skyway Bridge. So we're talking a bridge that stretches over 4 miles across Tampa Bay. It's
Connects two major counties.
yeah, it's not just a bridge. It's more like
No, it's
a
an artery.
masterpiece, essentially. Rises 430 feet at its peak. I feel like the iconic yellow cables, they're like big sails that catch the Florida sun.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And the entire bridge now is underglow, has lights that change colors with different seasons and holidays and sporting events. That bridge,
It's iconic.
It is. It's absolutely
it's iconic.
Opened in 87, replaced the original Skyway, which in 1980 got struck.
I remember. I was in high school that morning.
I was very young, but I remember the aftermath. I started to have memories of, seeing the new construction and how I actually have memories of going over the one side and you could look over, depending on what direction you were going.
I remember.
And you could look over and see the one that fell. Yeah, that was crazy.
Those were the days.
But from tragedy came triumph. I feel that bridge is so amazing. Now, today, the Skyway is a marvel of engineering, in my opinion. It's a symbol of resilience, and the views are so amazing in each direction that it almost makes you even forget that you're on a bridge. You look like you're just a piece of the sky. But for VW convoys, this is like the massive, photo opportunity. The last year we did it, we had that drone, and it just creates these unbelievable backdrops for our hobby and what we love to do. So if you've driven it, if you haven't,
it's magical.
Now you know. Add it to your must-do.
It's magical.
All right, man.
Now picture this: as far as the eye can see behind you is Volkswagens.
Right.
That's because you've been in my shoes. You've been up front. You know what? There's a lot of stress and a lot of organization goes into that apogee peak moment when you're on top of the bridge and you're going down and you look in the rearview mirror and you see nothing but Volkswagen behind you.
Yeah,
you get goosebumps. You do.
You do. Crazy feeling. We did the April ride this last year in 24. We had a little over 400 cars. That was something else, man. That was fantastic. This isn't about me though.
No, I get it, Joe. But you picked up the torch and you're running with it and you're having success, which I'm not surprised because this community needed a leader. They really did. And
thanks, man.
We will get to the history of it because I handed it off to Alicia, and and then she handed it off to Stig, and it didn't go anywhere. And then you stepped up, and you're like, no, there's too much history here. We just need to revive this and bring it back. And I think that you're going to grow it. I've warned you. This will consume your life. You have the creativity and the foresight to grow this. I know you will. And
I definitely
got some announcements coming. We'll leave it alone.
Yeah, and I don't do it alone. You know what I mean? Alan's been a blessing. We're both, completely different types of people. He handles, certain aspects, and I handle certain aspects, and it works. So, he's an integral part of, obviously what's happening with our success as well. So definitely some flowers to him as well. So just real quick, you had mentioned, I think you touched on Ken and Peg
Clements. Yeah.
Yep. And Peg Hodges. Just tell me quickly, how did they influence your journey? Because we're now at, you're blown away at Bug Jam. It's time to step up. You're doing your own thing now. So now
I give my own show but meanwhile, the Skyway is still going. I'm still supporting it.
Right.
I lived in Crescent Lake, Woodlawn area, 11th Avenue North, right there by the tennis courts, the Crescent Lake tennis courts. So what I would do is I would have a little convoy of my friends would meet up there Sunday morning, and we would convoy down to Bradenton over the Skyway to meet up with the big group. So I started doing that. Like the first 3 or 4 years, my convoy became just as much fun to ride down to meet the big convoy.
Yeah.
Well, Ken and Peg see this. They're like, this Sven guy, man, he's bringing like a third of the convoy down from Tampa or from Tampa St. Pete because they would drive over and meet us in downtown St. Pete at Crescent Lake. So eventually, after about 3 years of me participating, they were ready to hand it off.
Okay.
And that's but at that point I already had Bugs on the Pier going. So that's when the Wild Weekend was born. And since I already had Saturday consumed with the Pier, I'm like, well, we do the Skyway on Sunday, but how about we well that worked for a few years, but then people wanted to camp because you want to make it the whole weekend. And the Wild Weekend, when we outgrew Fort DeSoto because of they wouldn't let us vend. It was basically the bottom line. You couldn't sell your t-shirts. Nobody could set up and do anything. It's a park, which I get.
Sure.
So I found Boyd Hill Nature Preserve, which we ended up moving the Wild Weekend to, and we camped there on a Friday and Saturday, and
Totally love
it was
there.
it was Nirvana. There's a lot of good videos out there, I'm sure, still on YouTube that show the convoys of us riding in on Sunday mornings, and Saturdays we had games, van crams and bug pushes and you know motor blows, and as sacred as that sounds, yeah, we would actually try to blow a 1600 single port motor up. I mean, how stupid is that now? It's rare, but back then we had parts, so but it just grew. I mean, I was in the right place at the right time. I was already showing
Well,
my wings.
I think there's something behind that though, because you have to have, in order for something like that to grow, there has to be at least either some level of passion or some type of a vision for it. So
There's a scene behind it. It started off with the meetups on Saturdays, and that scene rolled into car shows. In
yeah,
car shows, we found out about the convoy over the Skyway, and we helped. It was cool because they would do more than just the Skyway. They would do buses at the beach. It was like June or July, like every summer, they would meet out at Fort DeSoto, and it was just buses. It was so cool. But the Skyway thing has its major bus influences because people just love the buses. And
sure.
there were certain years where it was buses over the bridge and it was bugs over the bridge, and
Yeah.
just
I was actually going to
just
touch on that. I was going to say, you didn't
wagons
just
over
stop
the
at one.
Skyway.
You did
VWs
boats
over the
on the
Skyway.
pier, buses on
No,
the
you
pier,
can't.
Type 3s on
Yep.
the pier. I saw all kinds of names. I was like,
Yep.
damn, you had a show for everybody. Now, we just all come together as one now.
You have to. You have
Yeah.
to. But I didn't want to be a one-trick pony. You want to change it up. It was bugs on the pier last year. All right, next year it'll be buses on the pier.
Yeah.
Then we'll do type 3s on the pier, and then
You're a
and
marketing
all are
genius.
welcome.
You're a marketing genius.
It's just I didn't want to be a one-trick pony. You think outside the box.
So lots of activity for you with the pier. The Skyway, we know its element, we know its majesty, we know what that equals. Talk to me about the backdrop of the pier. What made that something for you to put that much energy and invest, 4, 5, 6 shows a year at the pier?
You remember the old pier? It's so scenic out there with the inverted triangle, and we could drive around it and park. It had a little covered parking spots, so we could put 2 Volkswagens in each spot, and we could ride our skateboards around it, and people could fish. And I had games. We would do the van cram. We had music. One year, I set up this like a 500-foot long Hot Wheels track, and we were drag racing on the pier. People said, you can't drag race on the pier, Sven. I'm like, yeah, we are. And we set up a Hot Wheels drag track, and we were drag racing on the pier. We actually set up, I do remember we were doing a push race where we would push beetles across the back of the pier. We had the little light bar set up, green, 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 red, and we would push. We had teams, local teams would push the cars and try to drag race on the pier. So,
yeah,
try to be innovative. We actually had a guy come in drag wearing a dress one year, drag racing on the pier. He thought, well, where's the drag race? I'm here to drag race. No, dude, not that kind of drag racing. So it was just all fun.
Yeah, that is. So this legendary pier, again, it's a thing that you know it if you're here, if you're local. If you're not, this isn't just a pier, right? This is the heart
location.
Yeah, it's the heartbeat of downtown. It's the heartbeat of St. Petersburg. Stretches 3,000 feet into Tampa Bay. Yep. I think the most recent version of it is from 2020. I guess
It's
the
beautiful. It is turned into something amazing. I mean, I prefer the older pier just because of history. You know, I have history there.
well,
But
yeah,
the new pier is nice. I can't. I would
oh
I
yeah,
I would love to do a show on the pier.
it's beautiful now, but the original, the OG was what, 18, late 1880s was the railroad pier.
That was the $1 million pier. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
yeah. And then several
OG.
versions of it up to the pyramid design, which dropped in 73,
Uh-huh.
which was truly my favorite, demolished in 2015. So the new pier, as you said, it's not just a pier. Now it's
No,
20,
it,
26
it's a
acres of
statement.
parks and illustrations and artwork and metal stuff. And it's literally like where like the culture of St. Pete and the history, it like meets the modern vibes of today.
Absolutely,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
absolutely
It's
awesome. So
it's a magical place.
I want to say this because this is happening, with some influence and some dreaming. I got approved to be doing a peer show as well now. So this year in May on the 24th, Alan and I, the Salty Dub, we are doing the first peer show. Now check this out, everybody that's listening. We are the first car show that's been approved on the new construction, which means that V Dubs are making a comeback. They're on the scene for sure. We're making history on top of history on top of history. So man, that's just so cool. Classic VW
You don't.
series, skyline backdrop. It doesn't get
That's awesome.
better than the pier, man.
That's awesome. You don't think the Porsche people and the Mustang people are like biting at the bit to throw a show out there because it's
I
so
bet you
cool
they
and so special? That's
yeah.
awesome. That you got it, brother. That's
Yeah, man.
good. That's good. Spa Beach,
Again,
that
man.
that little entranceway going out to the
Yeah.
pier, Spa Beach. That we would do a show there and out on the pier because the pier got so big. We outgrew the pier. We would go out to Spa Beach. It's just food for thought. If you got the pier, baby, that's amazing, Joe.
Yeah, man.
Congrats.
It's community. I got some bumps from the the local scene here.
That's awesome.
Hooking me up, put me in touch with the right people. But yeah, man, we
Love
made
it
it
on the
happen.
pier.
You got all these shows popping now. You're making shirts. You got flyers going. You got all kinds of stuff. And now national magazines are
Yep,
starting
hot
to take
VW.
starting to take some notice. Just tell me how it felt real quick to have your effort recognized.
Just to get the spotlight shined on this area feels great. This area is so beautiful. I mean, we were truly blessed.
Yeah,
And
man. We live in
I mean,
paradise. Period.
you know, I've been truly lucky in my life so far to be spotlighted and had the light shine for on me. And it's not about me, it's about people behind me. That's the way
Yeah,
I see it.
yeah.
It's not,
Yeah, man. Yes.
I got a YouTube channel going right now, Sven's World, and it's not about Sven, it's about what's going on around Sven. It just
Dude,
we'll get into that later. We'll get into that later.
no, it's super cool. Obviously, I'm a fan. I like all your videos. I watch them.
Thank
Dude,
you, Joe. Thank you.
the music, like you said, you're an entertainer. You do a good job. I'm trying to follow in
You're-
your footsteps, brother. Trying to be a
It,
good entertainer.
it runs in my blood, man.
So 18 years of shows, success, magazines, all kinds of cool shit. The whole, scene is swaying in Sven's way. Now music takes over your life.
Music was always there. I got burnt out on the being a promoter. I mean, when I met Jeannie Brumley and she warned me like I warned you, it's gonna take over your life if you let it. Be careful what you wish. And it's just, it's not that I didn't love the people. I didn't love the ability to be able to create shows and bring people together. It's just I got burnt out. I needed to step back, and when I took on a band full time after I stopped doing my shows, I was using my Volkswagen as as my van. I put my drum set in there, the PA gear, the bass rig. I mean, I was killing my bus. It made no sense. I mean, I had just restored it a few years before that, and it's just like you need a white Ford Econoline van. It just
Yeah, yeah.
is what it boiled down to. I hated to say that, but
So you
so
sold you sold the bus to Joe Brennan. It goes down to, you said, the south of
south
Australia,
of Australia, yeah,
and it's still making its rounds
Wales,
out there, being entered in shows. I saw his
it's
Facebook.
beautiful.
It's like his life. So Your bus is living a second life halfway around the world. How's that feel?
He's raising his kid in it, just like I raised my kids in it. It's amazing. It's funny because I've never met the cat, but we communicate. He sends me, hey Sven, how you doing? I send him, pictures of whenever I find old photographs or
Yeah.
something that
What'd you
the
name
bus
that
is
bus?
in.
What'd you name
Hildegard.
that? What was it?
That was Hildegard.
Hildegard.
Hildegard. Yeah, Hilda.
Oh, well,
Don't ask me whoever was Hildegard, but Hildegard. She
love to
was
hear
she was
names.
she was the bus, yeah. And it's cool because when Joe got it, he didn't take no stickers off. The classic camber tag frame is still on it.
Mm.
The VW Freaks stickers are still on it. I mean, it's cool because people see it down there like it was here, so they're like, "Wow, that's like American." They don't see Americanized stuff like we do here. It's just cool, that he didn't change it. So
Yeah, no, that is cool, man. And I think there's like this level of respect over time with these cars. I think that's one of the reasons why people get pissed when there's a flip, right? Because like if somebody gets a deal or takes the torch or takes a vehicle or buys one, very very public. It's nowadays with social media and stuff, and when it falls into the wrong hands and it gets flipped, it's like there's a lot of opinions mixed
of
around that,
course,
and that just
of
shows you
course,
the type of loyalty that this community has. I think that speaks volumes, really by
sure.
itself. So similarities between the VW community and music, because that seems to be what your life calling is, right? It's either the music or kind of being the entertainer. Both seem to be driven by passion, by creativity, by connection. Talk to me about kind of how they blend.
Well, being a show promoter, I was promoting Volkswagens. Now I'm promoting Velvet Sky. It's just, whatever band you're in is your love, it's your baby, and you want it to grow. I mean, I'm 61 years old. I realize I probably won't get the record deal. I won't get famous doing this, but it's musical masturbation. It
You're
makes me feel good,
you're rocking, man.
I'm fortunate to be doing it a long time. I'm fun to watch. I'm a fun drummer. I've always believed the drummer should be the eyes. Should she should make it look fun. She should make it look easy. Not that it is fun or easy, but that's
I always got a kick.
there's
I always got a kick out of watching the drummer and watching their face.
sure
But I
same thing.
always have taken a liking to drumming. I've always felt like I have a rhythm and I know what a bass line is and all that. And like I've just always had a very keen appreciation for drumming.
Cool.
And I always end up,
Me too.
linking up with drummers and we always end up kind of becoming, decently friends. So
It's cool too.
no surprise there, man. No surprise. That's awesome. Yeah, man. So like looking back on the scene, the Tampa Bay scene, it's been a while since you've been in it. I know you're still respected. Everybody that I put that post up in local Volks and all these people show up and still want to support you. What do you think made the scene kind of so unique, back when you were, at your highlight, those 18 years that you were putting things together?
There was a common thread. When I would do my shows, I would drive to Orlando shows, West Palm Beach shows, Miami shows to promote what you're doing. So you'd be meeting a lot of the same people, if not the same people, the same mindset. It just seemed like when you dealt with Volkswagen people, they were cool. Whether they were in politics or cops or what, didn't matter what your job was.
Yeah.
It's just the people that you dealt with were just cool people. And I see a lot of that in the music world too.
Okay.
You get a lot of you get the egos in the Volkswagen world too. People will spend their last dime on and I got $1 million in this bug. And it's the best bug ever, and it's a beautiful bug, dude. But you know what? It's no more cooler than that rust bucket hood ride right down the street with the radars on it. That I want to go talk to that because that has much personality. It's just it's the people. It's the people that I like, the people that I hung out with. I like the people that were in the scene.
I feel
Once
like
I became
I feel like a lot of us in the scene now, it's like the birds of a feather vibe. The birds of a feather flock together. It's true. It's
so
like,
true.
these guys, I get to know them a little bit. We hang out a tiny bit, whether it's at a meet or it's like, oh my God, it's like all these things you end up having in common with these folks, and even if you don't, it's like you still can relate on the Volkswagen.
Oh, absolutely.
That's still the common denominator, even if the rest of it doesn't line up. You're still going to get along there.
You have to.
So
You have
yeah,
to.
man, that's awesome. I appreciate that. That was a pretty cool statement. So
Yeah.
look, let's go back to 94. All right.
Okay.
You're this younger version of yourself. You're buying this transporter. You know, the whole scene's about to change for your life and yourself and promoting and just all of that. What advice do you give that young man?
Hang on. You know, don't lose track of who you are. I mean, it once people start knowing your name and your face, and they want to be around you and they want to hang out with you and go to your shows, it can change you. It can. You know, there were people who were big on the scene when I started. You know, the Tom Browns who would or Mike Browns that would do the split window bus show over in Tampa you know, I mean, he had his own scene and he got burned out on it and moved to California. It just, you have to want to do it, man. I mean, I would tell myself, hang in there. You know, there are times you're going to get stressed out. Same thing with you, Joe. You're going to get stressed out. You're going to go, why did I do this, baby? You know, I could just drive my Volkswagen and be happy with it. You know, I should just drive in and be happy with it. But no,
I
you want to
feel
share those good times with other people. You know,
I,
you
I,
want to, you want to be around other Volkswagens that, you know, people see two of
and
them
you got stuff
together.
in common. You got stuff in common with these other folks. You know,
Exactly.
even if it's just the cars, at least there's that. And I think that where we're at now in the information age, where everybody's locked in on their phones and shit, and it's that like everywhere you go, not in them cars. Like it's like the people still matter. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's what we all love so much about, even if there's not 50 or 60 cars on a Saturday night
No,
these days,
no.
there's 20, but that's a good
But you knew,
thing.
but you knew every 20 probably. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
they're all friends.
Yeah, man. Do you
I know.
ever see yourself getting back into any type of VW scene?
Of course. I mean, you know, it's all money. You know, I would love a crew cab, 69 crew cab type two. I mean,
Ooh.
that was my dream. I had a 70 single cab. When my bus was being restored and was off the road, I lucked into a wrecked 70 single cab that I got from Classic Camber. And it was one of those things people would see in traffic and go, "Did you cut that down?" And it's just, yeah. If I could afford another crew cab or single cab, I would snatch it up in a heartbeat. I would. I love the shapes, man. I love how they look. I just, you see one in traffic, it's like your old girlfriend going by, going, "You got to look, hey baby, where you going?"
Oh, that's great. Great
It's
analogy.
true. It's true, man.
It is. It is.
I was lucky because when Joe bought my Volkswagen, he took it to Australia. I didn't have to see it ever again, other than on the web. It's not like I would go to shows and see people drive my old bus. I mean, when you sell a Volkswagen, you see somebody else driving, you're like, oh yeah, been there, done that. And I didn't have to see it anymore. It was gone. It was out of my life. So, was living someplace else, starting over again. So, I was lucky.
You got some
I
good.
am a very lucky man.
That's awesome, man. You got some great memories over time in these buses, and I'm sure you probably have amazing stories to tell. What's the best road trip that you ever took in a VW?
Best road trip we took in a VW. Now we've had a couple of Passats. We had a Cabriolet. Wasn't all air cooled. I mean, I love the air cooled sound, but and the feel. But we had a really nice four motion Passat that we drove to Jacksonville and back. That was very very memorable. It's just something about the all wheel drive versions of any car. You have to have the power and then the control of just being able to family times. Memories in the Passat. Cabriolet was good too. I mean, we've been lucky. Gina bought a squareback. We had a '74 squareback for about 6 months before it self-destructed on us. So it's just,
uh,
it's one of those things.
clearly a VW family.
Yes. Yeah. We paid our dues. I used to say, if you don't own a Volkswagen, you never did. Or
I was gonna say, man, I think it's a perfect time to ask you what I ask every guest, and every guest that I'm gonna have on this show moving forward has to answer this last question before we wrap this thing up. But everybody, I'm sure, is gonna want to know, what's your favorite VW model ever? Ever?
Google wagons are pretty cool. Swim wagons probably be my second. Google wagons. I just like the thing look. The original Type 181s. The Kubels were a product of the war, but they're still really cool. I mean, they're just,
I
they're
got
cool.
I got a
like 'em.
74 Type 181, and
No, you've got the illness.
I love that little thing, man. It's like, I think I didn't expect to like it as much as I do. It's when you get in it and start driving it, like, and you
Things
put the
grow on you,
windshield
man.
down, and it's like, oh, hold on. Like, why do we ever drive any other way?
I get it. Totally. Totally.
Yeah. Oh, awesome, man.
There's a reason they were so popular. I mean, they only made them for what, 4 years?
They
5
made them
years,
for
I think.
in the US,
3
they
years?
produced them for 2 years,
2
73
years.
and
72,
74.
74. Right. 73 and 4, right.
Yep. And then I think
So,
production shifted to Brazil or Mexico, where they
right.
produced them for a lot.
Acapulco. Yes, things are cool. I like the things. Buses
Yeah,
are type.
I like them
I like.
customized though. I see a lot of the enthusiasts, they like them, kind of stock, and I see them even maybe a little bit of a lift with some kind of mud
Yeah,
tires because they're
yeah.
very universal. Brother, I want to slam mine down on the ground and lower it, and
Take all the suspension out of it, right?
exactly. I want it to be so low to the ground that it rips off reflectors when I'm changing lanes.
Joe, have you ever heard of the Frendelin? It was the
No.
mail vehicle that Volkswagen actually produced. It was a mail truck.
Oh, it was the small mail truck with the squirrel
Frendelin.
back. I've seen those. Yeah.
Those are so cool, man. It's like a Type 3 meets I don't know, it's hard, it meets a Beetle. I mean, it's a bastardized Volkswagen. They're also very, very cool. I mean,
they are.
there's not too many Volkswagen models I don't like, but
the Type 181 takes the cake for you though.
they do, man. I really like the things. I do. Just because of the Kubels. I mean, it starts with the Kubels. That sort of like went into the Schwinn wagons, and I like utility vehicles, man. Being able to use it to work out of it, or just live out of it, or just have fun in it, man. Come on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well,
that's what Volkswagens are all about.
That's what it's all about, for sure, man. Listen, thank you. I appreciate you sharing your journey, all those memories. You made an impact on this area. I said at the beginning of the call, definitely giving you your flowers. There's tons of guys in this area that are still part of the scene that deserve the same treatment. They deserve some flowers too. So anybody that's listening, I'm coming for you. But Sven, thank you, man. Thank you for doing this. And, tell the audience where they can find you if they want to come see your band play, or, are you on social media? Like, where, if anybody wants to say what's up to Sven, how do they come and locate you?
I'm into the e-bike world now. I'm really into the personal electric vehicles, PEVs. My wife and I are into the e-bikes. I report to a TV channel in New York City called frantictv.com. You can find us on YouTube. We're all over the web.
And
Sven's World.
And your YouTube, yes, Sven's World.
Sven's World is a channel on Frantic TV. So,
and it's awesome.
Oh man, I appreciate the love. Know that.
Yeah, you do a good job with the production of it.
Thank you. I don't do any of the editing. I just shoot the video and talk. Unfortunately, it all goes to New York, and he does the editing. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that editing is on time, brother. That's
cool.
Yeah,
I'm so lucky, man. I just shit fucking finds me, man. I can't complain. If you want to check out about Velvet Sky, velvetskyrocks.com. You can get pictures and videos and see where we're playing next, man.
Velvet Sky Rocks again.
.com.
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate you, Joe.
I appreciate you too, man. Yeah.
This guy's the real deal. Volkswagen community, okay? Support Joe Persons. He's my brother by another for a reason.
Thank you, man.
He's the real deal. Hey, and you and I got to ride together, man.
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna do that. We got a couple electric bikes in our household.
Exactly.
Too.
Exactly.
I got a mock wheel. I'm gonna come hang out with you soon. Let's let it heat up a little bit. All right, brother.
Do it, man. Do it. I promise.
All right, man.
Joe,
talk to you.
Love you, bro. Be safe.
Thank you, brother. Love you, man. Talk to you. See you.
See ya.
And that's a wrap for this episode of DubLife Diaries. Thanks for sitting shotgun and diving into these incredible stories of the people and doves that drive their dreams. Until next time, keep the engine humming and the wheels turning, and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.